Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1437B, and today's date is December 1st, 2017, and the title of the episode is, The Plan for North Korea is in Motion. It's not what you think. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I uploaded an interview with Steve St. Angelo. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, or you can go over to x22report.com or newssentinel.com, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the interview there. You can play it right on the site, or you can go to Steemit, that's steemit.com/@x22report, and you can play the interview right on Steemit. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see, the story about Michael Flynn, it's all over the place, and the special counsel Mueller, he came out and basically had Flynn plead guilty to lying to the FBI. Now, Flynn's guilty plea has come with an apparent agreement to cooperate with the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Inevitably, this is giving rise to speculation that Flynn has flipped. Is this speculation warranted? Well, let's take a look at this. First, it needs to be said that the indictment against Flynn and his guilty plea have absolutely no bearing on the allegations of illegal collusion during the 2016 presidential election between the Trump campaign and the Russians, which are the center of the Russian Gate scandal. And this is why Mueller was there. So this has really nothing to do with that. Instead, they are concerned what is purely a process crime, that Flynn falsely denied to the FBI that he had asked Russian Ambassador Kislyak for Russia to react with restraint to the sanctions imposed on Russia in December 2016 by Obama. And much more interestingly, that he also falsely denied having asked Kislyak for Russia's help to block or delay a vote on a resolution in the UN Security Council. Now, the indictment does not say what the resolution was. However, looking at the timing, it looks like it might be Resolution 2334, passed on the 23rd of December 2016, which declared Israeli settlement activity unlawful, declared all Israeli settlements built since the 1967 Six-Day War illegal, and which specifically ruled out recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Note that the indictment refers to a conversation between Flynn and Kislyak on the 22nd of December 2016, the day before the vote in the UN Security Council on Resolution 2334, when that took place. So when we're looking at this, we can see that this has nothing to do with collusion with Russia. This has to do with lying to the FBI about the meeting with Kislyak. And remember, Trump's administration was already voted in. They were just waiting for the transition come January, where he would be inaugurated. So they were talking to different individuals, and there are many people out there saying that that didn't break any laws whatsoever. This is what administrations do. The problem is he lied. So really, right now, they have nothing on him, really, but they're making a really big deal about this. Why are they making a big deal about this? Because they have nothing else. There's nothing else here that they can use. Because if they had something, it would be all over the place. And of course, we have CNN, all the other corporate media outlets out there just pushing this story as hard as they possibly can. And we see right now that, there's not much here, but they're trying to make it bigger than it really is. Now, we need to remember that throughout this whole process, if you wanted to talk about collusion, we could say that collusion was between the Israeli government and the Trump campaign. The influence is two-part: a successful Israeli attempt to influence the incoming Trump administration, and an unsuccessful attempt by Trump's people to influence the Russian UNSC vote. And the issue has absolutely zero to do with U.S. elections, and that's why Mueller was really in there. Now, throughout his election campaign, Trump had loudly argued for better relations with Russia, and he kept talking about this. He said it would be easier to solve global problems if the U.S. and Russia cooperated. But of course, the cabal didn't want anything to do with this. The Obama administration, on the other hand, had a generally hostile attitude towards Russia. And we could see that it was walking the fine line towards a new Cold War, or war with Russia. Now, when Clinton lost the election, she blamed, without any evidence, that Russia caused it. So Obama then said, okay, Russia modified the elections. They cyber attacked, they did whatever. There was collusion with the Trump organization, and he placed more sanctions on Russia. But again, they had no evidence. And what's interesting about all this is that the strategy had been set within 24 hours of her concession speech. Mook and Podesta assembled her communications team at the Brooklyn headquarters to engineer the case that the election wasn't entirely on the up and up. And this is how it all began, where Trump allegedly colluded with Russia to win the elections. And if you notice, they have not found any proof whatsoever. Now, Flynn, at this point, all they have on him is that he didn't tell the truth to the FBI. Well, Obama didn't really tell us the truth about Obamacare, where it was supposed to be affordable, where you can keep your doctor. I mean, he lied to the American people, which I think is a bigger lie. And let's see, George W. Bush lied about going to war with Iraq. That's a pretty darn big lie. They lied about the weapons of mass destruction, which didn't exist. But we can see right now they're doing whatever they possibly can to create something out of nothing. And what's going to happen as we move forward here is that, yes, he'll be brought up on charges about lying, and there'll be nothing else. It's going to die down. I know there's this whole Kushner thing and everything else, but again, this is not going to go anywhere. They have nothing. Just like the New York Times story with Rex Tillerson, where they're saying that he's going to be replaced. And it looks like Rex Tillerson is saying, yeah, this is ridiculous. The New York Times story is laughable right now. And it looks like they might have set up the New York Times by leaking this information and having them actually report on it. Because we could see right now that the cabal, they have nothing left. There's nothing that they can do at this point, and things are getting worse for them. As time goes on, they are losing ground in Syria and even North Korea. Now, I know the corporate media and everyone else is out there saying that we could be going to war with North Korea because they fired this missile, and it's this new type of ICBM, and it can hit any place in the United States. Now, I said this in other reports where it looks like the strategy of Russia, China, the U.S., South Korea is to have North Korea become a nuclear state. And it sounds kind of weird, because why would they do this? Well, if they're a nuclear state and they possess a nuclear weapon, they're going to have to be inspected. And that means the cabal will not push for a regime change in the country. And North Korea has already stated right now that it is ready to sit at the negotiating table for peace talks if it is recognized as a nuclear power. Adding that the North claims that it was forced to be aggressive and will not stop its nuclear program. They are a nuclear state, they have a nuclear weapon, and they want to be recognized as a nuclear power, which means they have to be inspected by the IAEA. And the cabal doesn't want this. And we see right now they've already played their hand. This was the plan from the beginning. This was the diplomatic approach. This is the point they wanted North Korea to get to. Now the discussions can begin. Now, of course, the cabal's not going to like this. They're going to want to create some type of an event. Russia's very worried about the cabal. China is very worried about the cabal, that they might try to push some type of an event. Russia says they wouldn't be surprised if war does break out in the Korean Peninsula, because there could be some type of an event. They're hoping not, But this points to what the cabal might be capable of doing there. And they understand this. This is, a very risky thing that they were doing because they understand how the cabal works. Russia knows that they've gone into all these Middle Eastern countries, had regime change. They were trying to do the same thing in Syria. They knew it would eventually lead to Iran, and this is why Russia got involved finally, because they saw what was happening here and they needed to stop it. Now, Mattis is out there, U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, said that he still has confidence in diplomatic efforts on North Korea, even though they have this new weapon system. It looks like we can still have diplomatic talks. Tulsi Gabbard, remember her, she is a representative, a Democrat that visited Syria and said it was the United States that was causing the problems in Syria. And of course, no one was really listening. And she tried to pass a bill to stop the funding, but that didn't work out. Now she's saying that the only viable option that she sees is a diplomatic approach with North Korea. She said, one is that we negotiate directly with North Korea and Kim Jong-un, adding that, secondly, in order for those negotiations to be successful, we have to understand why Kim Jong-un is holding on so tightly to those nuclear weapons, because he sees them as his only deterrent from the U.S. coming in and trying to topple his regime. She understands what the cabal does. She knows that the U.S. goes in and has regime change, and I should say the cabal does this. And we see at this point the entire plan for North Korea was to allow them, and this is why nothing has been done. This is why Trump was out there continually saying, we're going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. Because the plan was to get them to this stage where they can become a nuclear power. And now we can have the negotiations and have inspections and say, you know what? They're nuclear power. There won't be regime change here. And this is why they wanted Iran at the time to sign the P5+1 deal, because they were trying to keep them from developing nuclear weapons. That's it, because they knew once they got into Syria and they overthrew Assad, they were going to go into Iran. So we can see right now the cabal, they are in big trouble. And at this point, the only option they have left is some type of major event. And this is what we are watching, because the clock is really ticking down. Mueller right now has nothing. And eventually it's going to turn out that, yeah, you got these little charges here and there, and he really found nothing, because he was set in there to find out and to investigate the collusion between Trump and Russia. And there's nothing here, because if he found something, it'd be all over the place. He would have all this evidence and he would present it. The only thing he has is this lie about meeting with Kislyak, and Flynn didn't tell the truth to the FBI. That's it. That's all that's all they have. So we see at this point that the cabal has tried everything. They fired everything they had except for one major, gigantic bullet. And that is the event. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.